All right, guys, welcome to Balls and Brews.
Welcome.
It's just me and Trev this week, but cheers, sir. This one's
Cheers.
to you, Downey.
Now, I think you would have enjoyed this one a little more than the last one, actually. It's
I
not
agree.
as tart.
Yeah, the acidity plays off of a different palate, as it were, because this is also a sour, but it's barrel aged. So, Snowflower by this is the last. This is it. Oh, I might keep this bottle. This is the last of the imbibe. We've been drinking imbibe. Well, that's not true because we're in theory we might have a quiet dust later too. But anyway, this is the last unique imbibe we will drink. It is a bourbon barrel aged Flanders style red sour. So the Flanders style is literally the original sour beer. Like that's where it all stemmed from. Like it wasn't like the idea of a fruit sour came much later. So yeah, they used to just let these fuckers sit in barrels until they got nice and funky, and then drank them up.
Yeah, I don't mind this at all. I think even when it opens up a little bit more, I'll enjoy it.
Sure, 7.7 too.
Dang,
Yeah,
really?
so yeah, damn near an imperial.
Could not tell.
I could not tell. And then for some reviews, bro, I had a great Lagunitas last night at our town. That was 12.3%.
Ooh.
It was a barrel aged stout, but it was not hot. A little boozy because it was 12.3, but not that like holy shit, like that's just the barrel. It's just like booze straight up front. It was silky.
Silky.
It was.
Smooth.
It was nice.
Nice.
They only poured it in like 7 ounces because it was so fucking strong. But
do you remember the name?
Whizzle wit. It was a fucking strange name.
A strange whizzly.
What a whizzle. What a whizzle. It was on it. No, it's weird. I don't know. I'm sorry that I didn't come prepared, but I was thinking about it all morning. 12.3%. Yeah, which and mostly I was just curious because like Lagunitas is known for hops, right? So when I saw stout, I was just like automatically intrigued, and then the 12.3%, I was like, all right, we're here. And then shout out to our town just for like the most delicious pizza. If you enjoy just Detroit style or fluffy style pizza, like if you're a thin crust person, then that's obviously not going to be for you. But if you like the fluffy style pizza, it's the best slice in town, dude.
Damn.
Yeah.
I'll have to get some of that.
Oh, you never. Oh, bro, it's just down Virginia. It's in that shopping center right across the street from the Atlantis, right there.
Okay.
Yeah, dude.
Oh yeah.
It's in the back. It's like yeah, and it is honestly it's worth the wait. You're gonna probably wait, but it's fantastic. And just order a four corners. It sounds like it's not that much pizza, but 6 slices of that shit it's a lot of pizza.
Yeah, the shirt's a lot heavier pizza too.
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
I'm about it. I like the bread.
But I'm telling you, dude, it's because they manage it so well, right? Where they get that outside crunch on the top of the cheese, right? But then the bread is just fluffy. And whatever kind of toppings you want for like a pizza, they can do like a traditional style topping, or they have some wacky fucking, blends that they like to do. But
So I'm down for that. I mean, for me, pizza starts with the bread and the sauce.
oh, dude, and they nail. I'm telling you, it's an endorsement here from Balls and Brews that our town pizza is delicious.
All right.
Yeah. This beer is as well. So thank you, Imbibe, once again for your lasting legacy. Your sours will never be forgotten in this household.
They're closing this week.
Yeah, it's pretty much the last one. It's funny. I still follow them on Instagram. They've been posting all of the daily deals. That yeah, they're still moving units.
You got one more trip to make.
I guess if I can squeeze it out, but I bet you it's fucking packed today. It'll be fucking packed today.
The back of the truck.
Yeah, I mean, shit. 7 cents a beer. No, I'm just kidding. They wouldn't do that, but like, I don't know, man. That sucks. They pretty much had to sell everything probably just to break even, would be my guess, or to like get closer towards out of debt. That's the only reason why you make a move like this, right? Like,
yeah, it seems like that's what happened.
I mean,
one last cheers for them.
One last cheers. This is
Thanks, Imbibe. I hope I don't drink this too quick before it opens up even more.
It's got kind of it's got like it does have that red ale-ness to it, right?
Mm-hmm. That's what I like about it.
It cuts through that sour a little bit too, and that barrel age does make a difference. I like that.
Good company. Good combo.
So this week we're gonna dive into the combine a little later, but it is combine week. That's like, this is the unofficial, well, not the unofficial. This is the official start of the new NFL season, right? Like this is technically where it begins.
Yeah, this is. I mean, if this was Madden, this would be the off season work you're putting in on the game.
You start to give a shit.
Time to start figuring out what that new team's gonna look like this season.
Honestly, though, like, I mean, this is a sidebar just because you mentioned Madden and I've been playing 24. I got 24 at like its super cheap cost last year, so that was pretty cool. But their off season, it's terrible. The off season, oh yeah, no, that game's bad, dude. I don't know why I still play it because it scratches an itch. Because I love football.
That's what NCAA is doing for me. I mean, I like that the last off season that we had in that game. I thought it was pretty nice team building wise.
I think the NCAA took time to figure out more so. I love that they have the different, like the way you can set your coaches up now is by a different archetype, and you build the coaching tree that way. I fucking love that. Like, I think that they innovated some cool shit in NCAA when it comes to their off season. The transfer portal is lackluster to say the least. Like, there's really nothing. Like, it just kind of opens and your guys go and you try to sway one or two guys to come to you, and that's about it. Really, like there's not like a pop to the transfer portal. Granted, we've been shit schools too, so it's not even to say that we can make that big of a difference. We're gonna lose more than we're gonna gain.
Yeah, I mean, between 2014 and the new version, the only real difference is that the transfer portal you get to choose your later transfers, like
sure. Who's
in right? Juniors and seniors,
right? Like, at certain positions you need, right?
Really,
right, correct.
Where that wasn't really the case in the last version.
Well, no, because it didn't exist. Transfers existed, but then they also still applied the rule of you had to sit for a year. So if you were going to take on a transfer, if he was a junior, by the time you get him, he's going to be, like a senior.
And as far as I remember, it was just kind of random. You'd have one guy or
go. Yeah, right. It wouldn't. There was no rhyme or reason. It wasn't because you matched up with what he wanted or anything like that. It was just like, oh, this guy wants to come to your school, and I accepted all transfers regardless. Sure. I didn't care if you were a 72 or a fucking 52. Like, I might cut you later, but no. But Jim, the point with Madden is you got to get better at that. That the game, the engine is just. That game could stand to kind of just restart with some things, which is unfortunate for all of the football fans out there because you're kind of pigeonholed, right? Like you don't get another football game unless you want to play Madden or even NCAA football.
Yeah, I mean having that monopoly is not fun. Yeah, I mean I think there would be better versions of football games if there was that competition.
Sure, I mean hard to disagree. But the NBA is really where we wanted to start this week. Go ahead and talk about your boy over there real quick. Show some shine. Yeah.
Oh, man.
12.
Oh, God, it was beautiful. Yes, 12 3-pointers. Curry put it down.
12, y'all.
I heard the other day that for his age, he scored the second most points only behind Kobe Bryant.
Yeah, because Kobe got his 81 later in his career.
Yeah, it was towards the end. So he was about 37, 30. He was right around the same age Curry is. I mean, a little older, I think. But a 56-point effort. Like, he had, 18 points in under 4 minutes in the third quarter at one point.
Yeah, he outscored the entire team in the third quarter just himself.
Sorry, Magic. Not sorry.
Hey, man. Shooters never die, man.
And I'm so happy. I mean, that he plays for the Warriors because,
of course,
I never get tired of watching his game. A lot of players' games they'll change or they'll have nights when it's I don't know.
I understand what you mean. He's consistent. He's always consistent. You know what you're getting out of Curry, and on some nights you get even more than you expect.
Right. I mean, shooters are going to have their off nights, but even his off nights are like, he still is like somehow helping the team, whether it's his off ball or his finding other players.
Just his distraction on the court of
the attention he demands.
Right, and watching him play offense, because he's not just a spot up shooter. He uses off ball screens. He uses the paint. He'll run from corner to corner several times in the same play. So he's always triggering movement along the offensive line. So whether or not he's the main target, you have to account for him. It's fucking Steph Curry. You're not gonna not know where he is on the goddamn court. He could be 1 of 19 in that game, and I'm still worried about him shooting the three ball. Period. Like,
well, and he's just one of those players in today's NBA that I just appreciate because he's always working.
exactly. Yes. And it's behind the scenes. Like he did have his moment where it was funny. You know, the shimmy was everything, and he was everywhere when he was the MVP, and he was the face of. He was, kind of the face of the league for probably
Him and LeBron kind of shared
back and forth
a little bit.
Yeah, I would say that late 2010s when you guys won that 15 championship and you guys were going back and forth in the NBA Finals. Curry kind of took that crown for that era.
There's a couple years that you just can't tell a story of the NBA without Curry, man.
1,000%. Come on, moving forward, not the whole game, but the current NBA and the layout of how teams operate go off of the analytics based around the game that Steph Curry basically shoved down the NBA's throat. He said, "See, if you do make enough threes, you can beat fucking anybody." But we've said this several times, and I will continue to reiterate this: you are not Steph Curry. Okay,
Yeah,
there is not a Steph Curry. There is not a Steph Curry on your team. There's just not.
There isn't. He's inspired a lot of shorter players, I'm sure.
Hey man, or guys with slider builds because he came in and he had to put on some weight, dude. He's
injuries were primarily
right. Ankle, knee kind of thing was a thing for him. That's there were big concerns with him in his first 5 or 6 years. But then that was a different Warriors team altogether with Monte Ellis and like that Mark Jackson team was like the proto Warriors, right? That they were trying to put together.
Curry's body hadn't quite developed to where it is, even at this later age.
No, right, for sure. Nor were they trying to perform like they weren't trying to scheme their offense the way that Kerr does now or has for a good while, right?
And bringing in Butler was that he's what Wiggins was supposed to be. That's what Wiggins was when we had that
dominant
playoff.
Sure.
Yes, that other player that they can feed off of. Curry needs that number 2 guy, or even if Durant was, if he wanted to win, the number 1 guy, he played the number 2 role, and it works, whether he's 1 or 2 in that offense, because it opens up the floor for him or that other guy. And that's why I'm excited again.
Right, and that's the reason why having a guy like that on your team is just like, it's the best to know that no matter what kind of team you try to build, he can find a niche. Now, he is obviously getting later in his career. He's probably got another solid 3, maybe 4 years at the top of his game. But, when he loses that step,
then he'll just be a spot up.
Yeah, and he might drag it out for a year or 2. I don't know. It all depends, right. But that guy, shout out to Steph Curry and putting up 56 and just being a good ambassador for the game. Has been for many years. And if there was, an anti-shit list, he would definitely be on the top of it.
Which kind of leads me to the other hot topic this week was a lot of talk about Ant-Man saying he didn't want to be the face of the league and LeBron agreeing that that's not a desirable position, which I'm just gonna poo-poo all over that.
Yeah, because he just gets to say that now because heavy is the crown, heavy is the head that wears the crown. You anointed yourself King James. Like, what do you mean that you didn't relish in being the face of the league? Are you kidding? You think that just sounds like a bull-faced lie, right? That just sounds like he's just full of bull pooey.
Well, I mean, I'm never been a LeBron fan, so I always kind of got that. I feel like this is two-faced LeBron. You get both sides. He's gonna say one thing and do another.
It's why Zach was so hesitant to have him on the Lakers for so many years, and he still doesn't necessarily get behind him 100%. But no, I know, and I've never been a LeBron detractor. I've never been a LeBron hater. I've never been somebody who's like, dude, his legacy speaks for himself. The guy is a fucking animal. But
them crying about criticism, though, it's just so it's just such a baby kind of attitude. I know they hear it more than probably Michael did, because I know you weren't a Michael fan, but even Michael
could
got
I be?
criticism. It was different back then without social media and everything.
Well, sure. The instantaneous reporting and the ability to shout loudly very quickly. A lot of people all at once can say a lot of negative things very quickly on the internet now, right? And I can get why day in and day out reading negativity would drag somebody down, dude. Even somebody as talented and as gifted as LeBron James or even Steph Curry, or the worst one is Kevin Durant. He literally absolutely. He literally let the keyboard warriors break him a couple of times. He had burner accounts and shit. Like
I feel like that's why he didn't come back to the Warriors.
He was too scrutinized.
He would play that same role that he played, like Jimmy's playing, like he played before. It would be a successful team.
Is that?
But I don't want to be on a successful team because of that.
You found something that could have been truly dynastic. You could be on the run still if you had the both of them.
Hey, yeah, and NBA.
Fuck, man. And shout out to Steph and going and getting that one a couple of years ago when nobody fucking thought you would do it. That fourth one was fucking impressive. Like when you guys beat the Celtics, that was a hell of a statement. And I think that's the statement that Durant has been trying to make his whole career and just is not that dude. And this is coming from a guy who hangs Sonics banners in the back. I wanted him to be excellent because we drafted him to our franchise and
would have been a great Sonic.
He was for a year. Oh, it's sad. Oh, it's so sad. Come on, bring him back, y'all. Bring him back. Oh shit. But no, we gotta find that next generation. Point of this conversation here is that the NBA does have a crisis on their hands with this. Well, we are losing a generation of greatness here soon in Curry, in LeBron, in all of the old heads, Chris Paul. Like, there's going to be a rotation out. James Harden, even. I know he's a shit lister, but he kind of has to be put in that, tandem. Like,
sure. I mean, really, Joker could be that next guy because you have to be dominant.
Right, but unfortunately, he's never going to put himself in front of the camera.
Right, he doesn't have the personality.
He doesn't want to. He doesn't have to.
And the other guys that have the personality, they haven't shown that dominance or consistency or the championships. They've fallen short in those areas.
Right. The only one that might even come remotely close, and I don't know if I really want to get behind this, but it would be like Jason Tatum, being that they're coming off of the chip from last year, right? And he's young and he's quite dominant, and he plays in a market that gives a whole fuckload about that basketball team, dude. The Boston fans are diehard to say the least, like. So, I mean, the stars kind of align there, but I think we've talked about him in this sense that, like, he's not a killer. He's not that guy. He just doesn't seem like the alpha. Not that he's not a great basketball player, by all means. God, dude, I'm not going to sit here and, tell him he's an all NBA guy, but, like, also, it's just something, right? Am I wrong? No, do I feel like am I overstating something?
You're not wrong. I think also it's part of it because he's on such a great team. If he had to dominate more,
there's a lot of talent around
and
him. That's true.
Pushed himself to be that personality, he could be the face.
Okay. Okay, so you think that's the missing element too, then, kind of thing?
For him, yes. I also think it's the perception of the NBA, which is why I think they get a lot of hate, and I don't think it's not deserved, is the perception of the game when you have players taking nights off. Like, it made sense with Kawhi because how his body broke down, but for other players that are healthy to take a night off, or for teams to tank to try and get a high pick, other sports don't do that. And that just makes the NBA look different, and not in a good way.
Well, the struggle with the NBA has been the devaluement of the regular season for many years now. But it's crazy because if you look back on the one thing you cannot talk shit about the 90s like not Warriors in the sense of your team, but like the 90s All-Stars, 82 unless they were hurt. Or unless it was like, they used to do back-to-back-to-backs. They used to do three-peats sometimes, like in the back. So I could understand sitting out the third day kind of thing of like a travel if you're an all-star or whatever, and you just put in 42 and 42 the last two nights or whatever, a little bit more understandable there. But like, yeah, no, they were playing, dude. Jordan had in like 9 seasons, I think he missed like 3 games or 4 games. It was like some sort of ankle issue that kept him out for a game or two, but like that's a legitimate injury. And then obviously, He played everywhere. He wanted it.
Yes, and it's not to say that there aren't guys in the NBA like
Yeah,
that.
like that, sure.
I love those guys, but there's stars at the top that aren't.
Right. No,
and it's plain to see. And it just makes it just taints the whole sport a little bit.
Well, and especially because, okay, so the tact by Adam Silver was to say, okay, you got to play 60, was it 55 games or 60 games minimum to be applicable for the end of the year award? Either way, he upped that.
Right,
yeah. And then they made a rule that you can't load management on a nationally televised game. If you're injured, then obviously, but like, how do you really?
Man,
you can say anybody's injured, right? Because especially later in the year, anybody could be injured. Like,
and again, that made sense for Kawhi, but I bet Popovich regrets that now because of what the league's become.
Everybody took that idea and pretty much ran with it. It became
unintended consequences.
Yeah, there you go. It's a great way of putting it. The entire association took that as like, oh, well, if they can do that, then we should too, kind of thing. Devaluing the regular season and then just basically stating, even if all we got to do is get into the tournament, all we got to do is get to the playoffs. So if we're 5 games over 500, so fucking be it. Like, just get in and then make the difference there.
The NBA made their season like how we see the Pro Bowls for a lot of other sports. It's just a game where they're getting together and you're not always getting the maximum effort, it feels like.
God, and that sucks, dude. The regular season should matter a whole lot. Like, it's the regular fucking season. It's not preseason, and
it matters a whole lot in football.
It has
college and pro.
It has to. Yeah,
not a game
one and
makes
done,
it different.
Baby. Absolutely. Like that's the thing. Like series. Okay, there are very few words better than Game 7 when it comes to series-related playoffs.
Hockey, baseball,
basketball. Right. Exactly. Game 7 is traditionally an amazing moment in sports, right? But what that allows you to do is knowing that you have the ability, you can lose a game in a series. Okay, that sucks. We dropped it. We'll learn from it.
Performance.
Yeah, upward and onward. Whereas in football, that's why March Madness is so gripping.
Hey, March, we're here.
Hey. Yeah, it's Saturday. We're recording today on a Saturday, and there's a lot of good ball. I hope you guys have been paying attention because, brackets are going to be coming up soon with the conference championships. Conference tourneys are like a week away, and the Huskies might not make the Big Ten tourney. There's 3 teams at the bottom of the bracket. Like, there's 18 teams in the Big Ten right now. 3 of them don't get to get in, and the Huskies are second from last right now. We had not a great first year in the Big Ten at all. Come on, dogs. Where are we at? The Big Ten's that's a big conference, man. There's a lot of big boys moving a lot of weight in that conference, so trying to stay relevant is going to be a trick for my program. But
as we speak, Alabama and Tennessee just started.
Yep, that's 5-6 or 5-7 or something like that.
5-6.
5-6, yeah. Yeah, there you go. So that's a good matchup. Alabama is a solid team. Tennessee is historically a really good program as well. Both of those teams will obviously make the tournament regardless of how this game works out. The SEC, dude, has really, for basketball this year, has kind of
historic.
It seized the day because
there's never been a conference this strong.
Good. Yeah, no, because right now the Big Ten is kind of down. The ACC is very down outside of Duke.
And even when those conferences were good, there wasn't this many good teams in that conference.
Right. No, for sure. Even the SEC, because teams like Alabama are traditionally, you think, as a football school, right? They've been really relevant in basketball probably for like the last 5 to 10 years.
Yeah.
Like, they've really come on. And then you're talking, only basketball schools that are in the SEC are still like Kentucky and like
just Kentucky,
Yeah, no big deal, right? I know. But then Florida's having a fucking baller year.
They're back. I mean, it's been a while, but they've been good before.
No, I know. So I got a coworker who he lived in Gainesville for many, many years, and he is he's a big Florida fan, and it's funny. He's like, "We got the length, man. We got 3 7-footers."
I'm sure he's excited this season, man.
He's pretty hyped. So, but that's the thing about March Madness is all of that hype can go away in one game, dude. dude. So you better bring everything you got. And I think that is why the regular season actually for NCAA basketball does mean a lot, because you got to make sure that you win those games that you have to. If you lose to the teams you're not supposed to, that's the easiest way to not get into the bracket. You've got to beat the teams you're supposed to beat.
Yeah,
right?
most people, the average fan, would hop in for March Madness, but
Everybody fills out a bracket, right? I mean, come on, why not? Even if you just pick off team names or like colors or mascots or whatever, like it's just a fun thing to do.
These conference championships are really good too.
Yeah, no, these are good. The tourneys this year should be quite legit. Like there's going to be
Especially
some good ball.
SEC, man.
Yeah, the SEC is going to be fun to watch. So that's coming up in the next week. And then, like I said, we got the combine going on, so we want to transition to, and a little NFL news on the front of that is one of the first and probably the biggest domino in pre-free agency, as it were, is that Stafford is reported to go back to the Rams.
Sorry, Zach.
I mean, I'm sorry for Zach, because I know that that would tickle his fancy to the nth degree, and also that would just immediately make that QB room solidified, or at least a lot more
relevant in the conference.
Almost immediately.
Zach happy, good for the pod,
and
he would be out of our conference.
Exactly, and then there's that point. I know.
Just be shit.
There is which is I was always so bewildered by the idea of moving on from him anyway. He's only due to make like $27 million this year.
Well, that's why he just wanted to get that payday.
I don't blame Stafford neither. Oh, yeah. I would have fucking kicked a little dust up too.
A lot of players make this kind of play.
Absolutely, especially at that point in your career. The Rams aren't stupid. They have to know what he means to that team, pushing them forward. Like Puka Nacua is a great wide receiver. Do you know what receivers can't do? Catch the ball if it's not thrown to them. Like, you don't get rid of one of the best pure passers we've seen. Like, the thing about Stafford is he's criminally underrated when it comes to like where he is in the pantheon of Hall of Fame, because he's a Hall of Famer. He's a guaranteed first ballot Hall of Famer. But he's not considered in that elite echelon, right? I would say like he's tier 2. But if you look
right outside,
look at what he has done with what he has done it with in Detroit, and then obviously coming over to LA and making a big difference and getting a Super Bowl year 1, right? That's what they tried to do, and they accomplished it. But his legacy is an unfortunate one in the overall, because, like I said, he'll never necessarily be considered top 10 overall. But goddamn, dude, he could have been. He's insanely good. Yeah, so it would have been nice to get him out of the fucking NFC West. I don't want to see him 2 more times again.
The Rams did have some other news. They did re-sign their tackle Jackson too just recently.
Oh, there you go.
So they're keeping their line together. Their line has vastly improved the last couple seasons, so that was a key signing for them too.
Well, dude, and they're drafting on a defensive end into, I guess, try to replace Aaron Donald, which is almost an impossible task. They were really good at that too. They had a really stout defensive line when they weren't supposed to either. So
I hope they missed this year.
Yeah, right. Come on now, like draft a second round kicker, right? Do that, Rams.
If only.
Trade all the picks for a fucking running back. Do a Ricky Williams. I gotta get drinking.
Yeah, you do. Something here.
Thirsty Hill.
A little thirsty here.
A little thirsty Hill. All right, but so the NFL is about to get really juicy, y'all. Free agency starts. The negotiating period starts. I want to say it's March 10th, with free agency opening on March 14th. So there's a 4-day window where it's not considered tampering. You can talk to
contracts pretty much
unrestricted free agents. Unrestricted free agents. You can't talk to restricted free agents without the permission of the team, which has to open on true free agency. So there's still some guys that won't necessarily fall immediately, but those first 48 hours, bro, are some of the best in football. It makes the off season so great.
That's really when it kicks off.
Absolutely.
Because you start hearing names and contracts. Getting drawn up.
So good. It's so good.
Here we go.
Yeah. And exactly. It just gives that tingle, even though you're still 6.5 months away from, regular season football. It's the first moment where you're we're constructing this year's team, right?
We're figuring it out.
Right. Yeah. And on top of the combine, which will then obviously hopefully hone into, I'm really curious to see what my regime does here, knowing that I didn't think we were going to move on from Grubb. Now that we have, knowing that we are going to move forward with a different offensive scheme altogether, I'm curious to see how we draft. I'm curious to see. We don't have a lot of cap, even though the cap hit. That's another point we should touch on. The cap historically went up to $278 million this year.
Bigger increase.
Yeah, it went up another. I want to say $27 million. So we got out of negative cap space with that, obviously, but we still
it helps everybody.
Everybody.
I mean,
everybody
keeps the can down the road with contracts, so
right.
It's going to help with that Purdy contract, I'm sure.
Which okay, I mean is that going to happen this season?
They're in talks.
Sure.
Let's see how close it gets. I mean, okay. I'm hoping it does because I feel like if they do it a year early, we get a team-friendly deal. If we have to wait until after the season, then it's not going to be so friendly.
Especially if he balls.
Yeah.
Especially if he balls. Because he did have a down year overall in comparison to his first two, right? His third year was not anywhere near, well, you were just banged, everybody's banged up. It was just injuries all across the Niners, really, which obviously didn't help him be successful.
But yes, some injuries in
him included, sure. Right? He had an injury. He missed a couple of games just by his own right. So, I mean,
I'm expecting a bounce back because of the coaches we brought in. I'm feeling the hope the hope that you get at the beginning of the season.
Sure. I love
every team does.
I love that feeling. And I think more often than not, when you sign the guy earlier, it benefits the team longer. Yes. Right? So
Niners have not always done that.
I know, which is weird. It's weird that I don't know. Teams are operated differently, right? Some do exactly that. Some drag out every contract known to man before they sign anybody. That's what the Bengals are doing right now. They're a huge cog of this offseason, dude. What do they do with T. Higgins? Is Trey Hendrickson out? Sam Hubbard, wants a contract too. Jamar Chase hasn't gotten paid yet.
Oh yeah, I mean,
everybody in Cincy is a question mark almost moving forward for that team. So outside of Burrow,
in that cap, if they can work it right, maybe they can keep them. But we'll see.
They're minimum, you got to throw the bag at Chase. I mean, yesterday, I don't know why you haven't.
They're another team that operates late. Like the Cowboys and so many others.
And you made some great signings last year, Cowboys. Do it up. Selectively aggressive is what they chose to be. Those are the words. They're not all in, but they're going to be selectively aggressive.
Kittle's contract, I'm pretty sure he's on last year. His deal too, so we got to renegotiate there as well.
You would think he'd give a hometowner, right?
He's
later in his career.
I think there's no way that we don't figure out something with him.
I think so too. He just seems like a Niner, right? Why would he want to leave? He's got enough money, and he's got,
Especially with Debo gone, he's
might open up our strongest big time. That's true.
That and he's one of the stronger personalities on the team to probably lead.
I wouldn't disagree with that. He's 8th year, right? He's like his 8th year. So, yeah, he's a veteran, and not only in the league, but specifically in that locker room.
And again, you look at last year, you look at Debo's numbers being down, you look at Purdy's numbers being down, but you also had Trent Williams out again, you had Ayuk out, you had Christian McCaffrey out, and all those players affect each other because, that offense is so different.
1,000,000%. It doesn't click without all of the pieces clicking, right? It's one of those where you're the sum of your parts, and, Voltron can't run without Voltron. Well,
I get that reference. Yeah. How many of our listeners do?
We're nerds. I know if Prox was listening, you'd be like, oh! Prox, hey, I'm going to swing back here. I'm going to put it on wax here. Learn how to chew clock if you're going to be that kind of an asshole. I don't know if he knows how to or not to change the tempo because he just wanted to burn. It started in the third quarter.
I think he's in the mindset now where he's like, if I sim and win, then I can get a better job to leave.
For a guy who is a gamer across a lot of different channels, get good, bro. Come on.
Yeah, he always tells me to get good at Rocket League or something.
He's on the other foot this time, Mr. Props.
Can't be good at every game,
Andy. Sure can't. 42-10, baby. I put boot in half. Well, I was going to take it easy on him, and then he started
being stupid shit.
He started being a dick. He would line up. He'd line up with 27 seconds left and chew the clock down. So I'm sitting there for half a minute waiting for him to snap the fucking ball. If you want to do that, that's fine. Just change the tempo. Double click your right stick, dude. Read the fucking manual.
And Tiger kind of runs that offense too.
No, but he did it intentionally, Props. You did. I know you did. And I still put up 2 TDs after that, so you're welcome. No, I'm feeling the flow in that game, bro. I'm starting to get, and I really I can't. I need the transfer portal not to fuck me this year because my quarterback, if he comes back for his junior year, is going to be like on the border of like legit, both with his legs and with his arms. So I could really use that.
Like, I already have my right tackle returning.
For like not for your whole offense, you just mean your line, or for your whole offense?
For my offensive line, I only have 1 tackle returning.
And how'd you do in recruiting? Were you able to
I got 2, but I mean that's where the transfer portal really would help me. If I need somebody that can come in that's better than a
67
freshman.
Overall, 68 overall.
Yeah, that's gonna start.
Well, you have to have like some backup linemen that will stay with the team, obviously, right? Like that's got to be a thing.
Sure, I mean, football. Good old NCAA talk. Let's crack this new beer.
I know, yeah, we're going to do that. And then, do you just want to roll into the second segment? Are we just doing it here?
I'm good.
We might as well.
Do we have any other news? I mean, I forgot to touch on Embiid.
Oh, for the NBA, yeah, the Sixers did shut down Embiid, which
happened already.
And then Paul George, I'm going to stop doing podcasting because I want to be
that's gonna
500. Yeah, 20 and 38, Philly. You're 20 and 38. Okay, I don't know if you can math very well. Well, that's 18 down, okay? You only have 26 games left. If you won out, you'd only be 8 games over 500 going into the playoffs. Like,
in Captain Hindsight here, like, hey, Embiid, if your body's giving you trouble and you can't play a full season, maybe you shouldn't do the Olympics. I know Olympics is a prideful event, but you gotta be there for your team.
It looks bad.
And it looks bad. The process has stopped the process.
Oh, man, yeah. He had his upswing too. He won that MVP. All right, we're gonna take a cheers here before we start ranting.
Okay. Then we rant.
Cheers. Then we rant.
Yeah. Tropical.
Yeah, I like that.
Get a little mango.
Hot tropical limited IPA from our boys at Sierra Nevada.
Yeah, I saw a limited release, so I grabbed it.
I love the color palette of the can. It screams tropical. Check that out on Instagram for sure. This will continue to. It's limited, but Sierra Nevada ain't going anywhere. It's very much hoppy. The IPA
it's quite hoppy.
Shows through 6.5, by the way.
But some good.
The citrus is there. The citrus is there for sure. And once it opens up and gets a little bit more, I bet you get a little bit more juicy to it. Because as you can see on his, it was a really good pour. There's some nice body to it. So for an IPA, that's drinkable. So our second segment, as we move forward in our Balls and Brews breakdown of the South divisions and what they did, and we're pushing through this even without Zach, simply because we want to make sure we're on route for being ready for the draft and for every free agency, basically.
Yeah, we kind of have the schedule. Yeah, it's working out nicely so far.
It's going to be all right. So we're going to go ahead and give you some reviews on the South division, and we're going to go ahead and start with the AFC South, right?
Yep, we're leading off with Houston winning the division at 10-7.
And man, they were such a bipolar team. When they were on, it was like, okay, here's the team that we thought they were going to be, and then they fluttered multiple times, and then
hopes were high at the beginning of the season. They didn't live up to it.
Yeah,
the offensive line was not good. Stroud was not as good. He had that sophomore slump that you see a lot.
Well, I think it also just goes to show as to what you were talking about with the offensive line. When that regresses, then
that and injuries at your receiver position.
Constantly, Nico Collins was out. Stephon Diggs missed pretty much the whole year. Tank Dell had a nasty injury later in the year. They were banged up at a very important position, at least in today's NFL. So, I mean, down is a down overall.
Yeah, I would too.
You had Stroud as an MVP with them pushing for Super Bowl aspirations, right?
I believe so. Zach has that list
over here somewhere. So, I mean, unfortunately, you've got to give them a down.
Yeah, I mean, again, it's just they were ahead of schedule and it kind of caught up with them.
Sure.
Kind
So
of like so many other teams. We'll see if
I
Washington
was
can
gonna say,
stay.
yeah, that's gonna be the team
They're the team
coming.
this
Yeah,
year.
1,000% going into next year. That's gonna have a lot of buzz around it because of Jaden Daniels and everything. So they need to draft offensive line.
Yeah, that's
Is what?
got to be the
Yeah,
top of the list. Maybe another receiver because they probably don't re-sign Diggs.
not for what he's gonna try to get. I wouldn't imagine.
So I'm sure those would be the top two needs. Defense, I mean, they could use. I don't. They don't need a whole lot. I don't
Not
feel
really.
like.
No, honestly, their defense is pretty stacked with Will Anderson. They brought in Daniil Hunter. They have Stingley Jr. on the back end.
I mean, this is really a good draft for them because I think where they were kind of weak was defensive tackle, and this
Sure.
draft is so rich. You can get a couple guys there, and
Easy without having to move.
you feel a lot better about that position.
Agreed. No, I think that so trenches. I mean, okay, without sounding, I guess like repetitive. Everybody can use trench work, right? Everybody can use it.
On
Don't
the
be
defensive side is there. The offensive side is not so
on
much.
this
in
draft.
draft.
There's gonna have to be diamonds. You're gonna have to find them. They're gonna be diamonds in the rough, is what it's gonna be. Because
Yeah.
there's really not that like standout.
There's a couple players at the top that are plug and play, but a lot of these guys this season seem like they're more developmental.
Yeah.
As far as they're not going to play right away.
Right. Well, I mean, they might be forced to sometimes. Injuries thrust guys into positions that they weren't
Or
inherently
just weaknesses on that team.
right. Or you just you're like, we got to try something different, right? So you're just like, we'll give homeboy a shot, and sometimes it pops, and other times it's exactly what you think it is. It's just a failure.
Moving on
yeah,
to Indy.
yeah. The Colts were surprisingly competitive considering once again that Anthony Richardson was either hurt or lackluster under 50%. Like it was like just over 50%, like 52% or some shit.
Oh, and it starts with him. Like it
Bad.
feels like he needs more game experience, and that was the problem when they drafted him. It hasn't really improved that much.
He went 6-6 the year he got drafted at Florida.
This is the break year for him.
Has to be.
Like you either have to take a step forward or you're not going to be the starter of this team. And that's where this really begins. You should, I believe, have a competent backup because of that situation, whether you're drafting a guy or bringing another guy in.
No, yeah, they're the definition.
They have skill positions. The offensive line wasn't. And they have pieces there. It's not. They still could get better there.
Right.
Offensively, tight end I think is probably a higher position offensively of what they need, but they need defense too.
Bad. No, their defensive line solid, front seven solid. It's their back end. They need to work. They need to look at safeties and cornerbacks.
Yep.
This draft, their secondary was not good in an AFC South that was pretty much ripe for the taking with Houston not living up to their end of the bargain.
Impressive.
Yeah. So I mean, Indy is one of those. They are an Anthony Richardson away. If he does unlock and he figures out that game, that team could be vastly different.
Yeah,
even if they botch this draft, But that's honestly probably one of the top 5 biggest what ifs going into the season right now, right? Like he is a giant what if because if he flames out, then in theory they're going to be back at the top of the draft the following year, right? And that's where you're going to see some of these other quarterbacks that are touted from college this year that are going to be coming out because this draft is Cam and Shador, right, and everybody else, as it were, is kind of where it's at for the QBs this year. But so Indy for me, I was higher on them, so I got to give them one of these. They weren't terrible, but like I thought they were going to be better. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm in the same spot with you.
Medium season.
Next team, Jacksonville, definitely was a downer. I think we all. Zach had them going a lot further than both of us.
Well, no, I had them 4th.
You had them 4th?
Yeah,
that's further than me too.
I kind of predicted that they were going to have a fall off. I've never really had faith in Trevor Lawrence or that Doug Peterson led. He was faltering last year, and they barely hung on to any semblance of goodness. So I thought this year was going to be a trouble for them, and it was. T-Law struggled even after getting the bag. Then he got fucking smacked and hurt. Like, Travis Etienne wasn't that great. Their receivers were fair. Evan Ingram was hurt the whole year. They traded Cam Robinson. Like, that defense took a step back as well. Like the Jags were not.
Well, I see the Jags in Zach's, but I don't see them in yours actually.
Right, that's because that's the playoff seeding. They wouldn't be in my playoffs.
Oh, okay. So you had them missing the playoffs.
No, I had them fourth in the actual AFC South. I remember picking that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, no. So that's just our 1 through 7 that we thought were gonna make the playoffs. Yeah, I didn't take Jacksonville to do.
Me either.
But Zach's just when he falls in love with a guy, he's been a Trevor Lawrence fan, since the Clemson days, and he's refused to let that go.
I mean, there's been some stumbles, definitely, but a lot of coaches have had, or quarterbacks have had to deal with issues like Trevor as well.
That's true. It's very, very true. And then obviously the number 1 pick in the draft comes out of this division this year in Tennessee, who they need everything everywhere all the time. They're bad. They're a really bad roster. Like
that's what makes me think that they are really seriously looking to trade back. As much as they could use a lot of guys at that top spot they need a quarterback and you want to bring in someone for competition, but it just makes such more sense for them to trade back, and
I would agree with that.
Build more. They have too many needs to just throw it all on that guy.
Right. And I guess the question to that though is who's going to strike that deal, right? Like who's going to want to go to number 1?
I mean, it feels like it's going to be that quarterback hungry team. I mean, there is that outside chance that somebody just really loves Travis Hunter or Abdul Carter, because both of those guys are worthy probably of that selection.
Okay.
And more so than the quarterbacks at least. But it feels like if it's going to be a move that's made, it's probably for a quarterback.
I can't disagree with that. That's traditionally how the top of the draft works, is that the guy that's normally the most sought after is the quarterback. Very rarely do you see the upswing for a DN or for a tackle or one of those other positions. It's normally specifically for that quarterback, right? And it all depends on if the first team is willing to give that up. Like last year, there wasn't a trade proposition you could have made to get Chicago off of Caleb Williams, right?
And maybe they trade back more than once. Like even just trading down to number 2, because like if I'm Cleveland, I want Cam Ward, and I'm not taking the chance of somebody jumping you or Tennessee taking him, because Shedeur Sanders I don't think fits for Cleveland. He's more your prototypical guy, but being able to throw that ball, having that velocity in Cleveland in that weather when it hits, you want the guy that has a stronger arm, and Cam Ward's that guy this year.
Well, and traditionally, you're gonna like the guy with more legs. Like not that Shedeur can't. He can roll and he can move, and he's not a statue, but Cam Ward can be explosive.
He's more the creator between the two.
Correct. He's not Lamar. Don't get me wrong. I'm not putting him on like that sort of pedestal. But he's big bodied. He's fast. He's got a strong arm. He's played it. Every team he's gone to 4 different schools, and he's won at all of them. So he can go to any program and be successful. So, and just what keeps me so far away from it's the Sanders brand, man. That just like I know Dion's kind of taking a step back, and it's kind of nice to not hear him on the microphone all the fucking time now, because Shedeur's got to blaze his own trail, and grown men are not going to want daddy coming into the fucking locker room saying he's got to be important, he's got to be this, and he's got to be that. Like that's why you're down in college, it's because you're coaching young men. These are grown men. Like very different.
It is very different. I really do think Dion understands that, having experienced it.
Sure. Yeah. No. And I that's what I'm saying. It's been a relatively smooth transition so far. Now it really all depends on who drafts Shedeur, because there was this whole smoke about he doesn't want to go to the Giants and he doesn't want to do that. Well, no shit, you don't want to go to the Giants. Like, that's a terrible roster. But that's kind of not how the NFL draft works, bro. Like you go to who drafts you. Like I get that you want to control your career as it were, but I don't think anybody is that big of a prospect this year, right? To like command that, as it were. I don't think any year really. I mean, Andrew Luck, I probably would have, you know, had you been able to keep him up. Dude, God, we got robbed of him, man. He was so fun to watch. Like, and I don't blame him.
Colts.
I don't blame. Yeah, I don't blame him for his fucking decision. You know, like good on him. He's actually now becoming. This is something I don't know if we've touched on.
No, I don't think we have.
Callback to NCAA football. They are now hiring GMs. I think we touched on it a little bit last week. About now you have somebody who can focus on the not the exterior of the team, but basically of all of the things that you lose sight of during the regular season, right? Like whether it be contract negotiations for NIL players or the transfer portal before it opens and understanding, you know, what positions might be of need and where you can go to, you know, find that. What guys are like applicable to go into the fucking transfer portal, you know, those kinds of things. Like, and he's still got a love for the game of football. I mean, you don't lose that, right? But I don't blame him for just not wanting to ruin his life with injury after injury after injury. Like,
yeah, I mean, it's situational. You can't choose where you get drafted, and
right.
It just sometimes, depending on where you get drafted, if the situation isn't right, it can shorten your career.
Sure can. Calvin Johnson.
Yes, it's happened to numerous players across multiple teams.
That wasn't because of injury. That was just because they lost consistently. They never did anything with him.
Myles Garrett doesn't want to be that guy.
That's exactly the barrel he's staring at. It's a great segue. It's exactly it, man. Myles Garrett needs to get on to a team sooner rather than later. And Cleveland, you should be thankful, actually,
that you had.
No, that you have this piece to move off of because you need 1,000,005 things yourself. You are number 2 overall in the draft, but that roster is not what it was even just 3 years ago because of that trade.
Contract is the worst in the game, so you got a lot of work to do. And if you're going to fix that, you gotta do things that you don't want to do all the time.
History, because of everything that was linked with it and everything that you had to take on scrutiny-wise, and then the longevity of it, the fact that it's fully guaranteed. That is the worst contract in NFL history. That also subsequently runs with the worst trade because of the result. I mean, the Browns, this is the number 1 worst boo-boo of all time, dude, without a doubt, right? Like the two, it has to be.
I mean, it's worse than the Niners trading all those picks for Trey Lance, and
I mean, you still went to Super Bowls after that, so I mean, you get to that gets to get scrubbed away. That's a huge what if, right? What if you didn't swing those moves?
The team would be in such better shape.
Yeah, well. Then in theory, I mean, who knows if you would even have Purdy? You know, it's the butterfly effect. You can't necessarily look at it that way, but you probably, like, same with us not trading for fucking Jamal Adams. Had we not done that, like...
or for not getting rid of Max.
We talked about that.
We did.
That's the death of what could have been the Seahawks dynasty, was taking an all-pro center, which, by the way, only 2 of those exist every year.
Didn't want him.
Yeah.
Rather have that tight end.
A pass-catching tight end. When we ran a zone-blocking run scheme. What?
You have Marshawn Lynch just block.
Oh, Lord. I don't... You guys, it will befuddle me until the end of my days as to why we made that. We made that trade because we were trying to cater to one Mr. Russell Wilson at the time. We really wanted to push him forward to not only be... He was obviously the face of our franchise. We were trying to push him forward. Yeah. We were trying to push him into face of league style. We were trying to get above and beyond. I know that that's what the strategy... That's had to have been the reason why we went that direction. Like...
All right.
Sorry. Yeah. Well, that's your fault. That was your fault on the sidebar.
It was. But let's bring it back to
South.
No, wait. No, we go back to... We didn't... What does Jacksonville really need?
Oh, Jacksonville needs offensive line. They need secondary. Yes. And they could use probably...
Another lineman, too.
In trenches, yeah. And honestly, their wide receiver... Christian Kirk was hurt this year. Didn't play very well. Like, they did hit on Brian Thomas, but to get a guy off of him would be legit. Because Evan Ingram is kind of, I think, on the downhill.
They might let him go. I believe he's a
free agent. Casualty, yeah. That might be a thing. So, but no, secondary for them, too. Linebackers, because they're good up front, need help on the back end of that defense.
And then the last team, we already did kind of touch on Tennessee.
Everything.
They need everything.
Which is why you need to trade down. You need to trade down. You need to get as many picks as you can. And
yes. This is a good draft for that, too. If you can build that second and third round, this is a draft for that. They are so rich there with certain positions that, of course, you need because you need every position.
Right, yeah, and I know no team wants to have this thought process after such a bad year the year before, but having another bad year this upcoming year wouldn't be the worst thing if you pick up all of these picks potentially in this draft, right? Then that would move forward into having the equity into the next draft. And if you're bad, then your picks are going to be great.
And better quarterback class.
Right.
Next year.
We're not endorsing tanking, but
NFL does a tank. It's different.
You can't. You can't really. You can't convince
players
the whole,
are playing for contracts.
Right. You can't convince You can't convince that guy who's trying to get more money on the food, because it's not guaranteed either. NFL contracts are not like baseball or basketball. Where when you put your name on that line, that $50 million is guaranteed right there, then and there. It's over at the time period of the season or whatever, but you're going to get every dollar in it. Otherwise, it's a breach of contract.
Yep.
With the NFL, you only get so many guarantees, and that's normally the first year or two. So you're looking for that next contract. Anyway, the Titans need to really look long term here because you are a ways off of being truly competitive. Even if you want to say that you can win your bum ass division, because the South is still not going to be great next year. You're not going to make
it's winnable if you hit.
Right, but here's the thing: the AFC is fucking loaded from top to bottom outside of the South.
Yes, you may hit and win your conference, but you're not truly competing in the rest of the AFC.
No way.
Some of the teams that are at the top.
You could be the fourth seed because winning your division gets you there at least, but that's going to be as far as you go.
That's the pinnacle of what it feels like you can reach this next season. But let's take it to the NFC.
Well, we love the NFC around here, don't we?
So
the South was actually a pretty compelling division. The Saints started off. I know that they're fourth, but they started off Mr. 2-0. Remember, we were like, "Woo!"
Yeah, can they keep this up? This could be something, and then they became the Saints.
But who did win the division? Which
Tampa.
I know, and God damn it, I came off of them the last day before
we
made
that hype.
I know because they signed. That fucking edge rusher, and then they got the Simmons.
Safeties.
Yeah. So it was just like
Atlanta was making the signings. You got those big names. You're like, this is going to come together and it's going to be good. And then it was like Cousins wasn't.
So for Tampa, I got to give them a thumbs up because they were not only competitive, they won the division and they played well in their playoff games as well. They were. Baker is, that it's nice to see. A real he was shat on for a while, and he's found success. He got even after winning them a playoff game. I know, right? After winning them a playoff game too. First quarterback in Browns, to do that in fucking 30 years.
And see you later, buddy.
Yeah, basically.
We don't like you playing through injuries and bringing us down.
Yeah, we don't like that fucking mentality, that killer mentality that you're trying to bring. We're not a fan of that. But
Deshaun Watson should be on that list.
Oh, he should be a shit lister. But we talked about it but since he's not going to be playing this upcoming year, we didn't necessarily want to put him on there. But
it feels like he's going to be out of the NFL pretty soon.
Right, because I think he's going to fade out of headlines sooner rather than later, which is why I don't think he's worth a spot up there. He is a shit lister by all rights. Don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to defend this guy.
Oh, no.
I just think that we're even putting too much respect on his name. I think, he's such a shit lister, he doesn't even get on the shit list. Yeah, that's how that works. I just made that bylaw up. But the Bucks, okay, so they've drafted heavily on the defensive line the last couple of years, which is why they need back end help.
Well, yeah, they're old on the defense.
They need back end pretty much across it. Linebackers are old. Levante David is, not a spring chicken by any means.
They'll probably be losing Goodwin.
Yeah, Godwin is a free agent. That is true. So
that offensive line is
they open the bag. Yes, it is. That Cody Mauch out of North Dakota State has played well for them.
The running back game is strong.
Rashad White and then Bucky Irvin came on. Yeah, that's true. That's a good one too. You're right. And then obviously, as long as Mike Evans is healthy, he's a perennial Pro Bowler. That guy's so
He's so
fun to
good.
watch. His body control is insane, dude. For how long that fool is, like the way he can play the corner of the end zones and the sideline is just masterful.
That's just how he just stacks those 1,000-yard seasons.
So good, dude. That guy. Yeah, he missed the 4 games and still hit his
Still?
1,000. Yeah, still hit his 1,000 this year. But they need back end help on their defense, and they do need to replace Godwin. Is that although McMillan, shout out Huskies, came in and had himself a good year when he was asked to be the 3 guy, so he could potentially be the 2 guy. And then K. Dotton at tight end when he plays, he's shout out Husky too. He's a pretty good tight end.
I think secondary look first, and then maybe
especially if
try
Bowles
and
comes
find
back.
a receiver.
Yeah,
after
linebacker, receiver,
day
secondary.
2, day 3.
Yeah, linebacker, secondary, receiver is where they're going to target. That would make the most sense, based off of the roster now.
And then next we got Atlanta, which everybody's giving a thumbs down.
It has
bring
to.
all these guys in,
Right.
and it still doesn't come together.
You sign the contracts, you throw out all this money, then you draft a fucking quarterback. Shout out Penix, man. We're getting on a Husky roll here. But then he has to come in later in the year because Cousins Flowers. That's the argument, right? I mean, hindsight's 2020.
That's an hindsight.
Yeah, for sure. There should be a fire escape over there.
They still don't really have a strong number 2 receiver, but I mean they're still missing that.
Mooney had a
pass
pretty
rush,
good.
too.
Mooney had a pretty good year, but I would say behind Drake London, like even he disappears for a little bit.
It's hard to judge though because of Cousins' play, and then
That
having
was
a rookie come in after.
roller coaster.
Like it's so hard to really place a player.
That
like
was very
that.
roller coaster. I don't disagree with that, which is why going into this next year. Okay, here's a great question. Do you think that Cousins is on the roster next year?
He is under contract, so
he still has guarantees.
I don't know how it's shaped. I didn't look at that before we started. Of if they can just release him and not take a big hit, or if they have to trade him. If they have to trade him, that's going to be difficult.
No, the dead cap is like 68, which isn't.
That's
a lot, but that's not more than what the Broncos just ate to get. Clearly, it goes to show you if that guy's not supposed to be on your team, eat the money. Eat the money. It sucks. It hamstrings you a little bit, but obviously it creates a better locker room dynamic when you don't have that guy that's not supposed to be there.
I mean,
that's how I look. That's what the Denver Broncos painted to me that just this year with Bo Nick. Now, Brandon Sean Payton's a hell of a coach, and he schemed Bo Nix wonderfully this year. He played to his strengths. Like, I hate to say that the Broncos might, be turning a corner because they might be. Well, they are. We'll see if it continues. But
I mean, that's the other thing. We didn't touch on it, but Kelsey announced he's coming back.
Nah, who cares?
I mean, after last season,
that's what I'm saying.
He didn't want to end like that, but I don't know if it's going to get much better. Like, especially when you got the Broncos and the Chargers kind of coming. Sure. They're on the rise. The Raiders, if they would have got Stafford, it could have been different.
I had a little bit more of an argument.
They're going to be 4th place with the situation up there.
That's how it's going to come out at the preseason. Things can change, but every preseason prediction will have the Raiders in 4th coming out of that division. Unless you're just a fucking homer and you're like, all right, well, I'll try it. Who cares if I'm wrong? But like, it's going to be a consensus.
Trevor Sanders is going to hit.
He could very well be there at 6. There's a lot of mocks that have him going there. And dude, could you imagine having the tutelage of Tom Brady? Any young quarterback would want that. Like having Brady in that situation.
Coaching staff are happy about.
There. You got you're running in. They need to run him. We're getting off topic here. Atlanta, you really need to dump Cousins, whether you eat the money or trade him. Trade him would be the best for you, so you don't have to lose everything all at once.
Well, it depends on the contract. Sometimes it's better just to cut him and
I don't think so. If I remember reading the structure correctly, that's the worst case scenario for the Falcons, but only in the cap side of things, not worst for team building, as it were.
I mean, I really don't feel like he deserves. You're not going to get much in return for him.
Agreed. A 3rd at best, probably.
I think that's high.
I think a 5th. Oh,
at most.
After 100 million guaranteed, that's tough.
Yeah, with his contract, that's what makes it even tougher.
Yeah, you're not. I can't argue with you. That's brutal. They need to draft linebacker. They need offensive line, even though they've invested in their offensive line. They can't stay healthy there. They have some really good running backs. They could use a two wide receiver, absolutely, a number two wide receiver.
And another pass rusher too.
And fucking Kyle Pitts needs to figure his fucking life out because that guy should be a top 10 tight end with his eyes closed, and he's just not. So I don't know.
Again,
if
it's hard to judge with this situation, though. I don't think you. This year really plays a big part in how you view him.
Normally, Cousins is a tight end machine, though, and like it just Cousins still didn't even light up this year. Well, okay, he had some really good games. It's not like he was
like 3.
Okay, well, all right. Okay, Atlanta. Well, there you go. Move off of Cousins, fucking play Penix, and go from there.
We have a tie for
3 and 4. Yeah.
5 and 12.
We're gonna dip in.
Has Carolina ranked ahead of the Saints in the ESPN app?
Sure, they might have the tiebreaker at the bottom of the division. Whoop, whoop. Yeah, it means they beat them once or some shit. Who knows? But the Panthers, man, the Panthers took some swings last year that just didn't work out. They really need to figure out their offensive line per usual. I know we've just been beating that horse to death. With trading Brian Burns on their defensive line.
Yeah, defense needs a lot.
A lot.
But I think offensive line is actually the play that make you can hit
but
that early.
I think overall they were there. I don't think they were subpar, and they obviously weren't great. I think they were just kind of right there.
You kind of expected this.
Yeah. That roster needs a lot. Bryce Young needs to continue to mature. He ended up playing fairly well after coming back from being benched. So if they can build on that, then I think that that team could swing pretty quickly.
Free agency and the draft are big for them this year because that's going to kind of give you the direction whether you move off of him.
Well, and now they're finally recouping from that Bears trade where they have full picks, they have the full cap. Like they're not buried like they were in the last couple of off seasons where it's like, dude, we don't have any picks to move, we don't have any prospects to move. Like they were hamstrung to Bryce Young because of the trade they made. So now that one's starting to look in the rear view. And if Bryce if he takes even half a step forward, this franchise will be happy. They almost didn't go back to him. If Dalton would have actually played like a quarterback, then I don't think you would have seen Bryce Young and got hurt again too. But that team is a couple years out, but I want to see Bryce be better, and I want to see that team get better, as it were. And then the Saints' new coach and Kellen Moore, that roster they're so fucked. They're the only one that, even with the cap going up, they're still strapped.
Yeah, I think they're the worst.
So, by millions of dollars.
It feels like they're kind of designated to be at the bottom of this division again because of the cap and where they're situated.
They don't have a quarterback.
They have to make a lot of tough decisions this season, but if they make the right ones, then you can take that next step a lot quicker.
Well, and we talked about this on, I think it was last week's spot or the week before, where when Kellen Moore got hired, and we said, hopefully he reasoned with his GM even going into this job, saying look, man, the situation I'm coming into is not going to turn around in a year. We're going to be bad this year. Regardless of what play calls I make, and we might have some pop plays.
The South is bad. We're not winning the South.
Not even close. No, I think going into the upcoming year, the other three teams are going to be able to facilitate a lot more. Now, there could be some swings here and there, but I just don't see a drastic enough movement for this team because they don't have cap to negotiate with at all. They're barely going to be able to sign their rookies. Whoever gets drafted to the Saints isn't going to make a whole lot of money either. So, the NFC South is going to pretty much, I think it's going to be exactly what it was this year too, through next year. Falcons and Tampa Bay competing, and then the Panthers and the Saints kind of waffling, for 500, maybe a little under.
It feels like there's going to be that separation. This division has been close the last couple of seasons, but yeah, the two teams, the Saints and the Panthers, it seems like there's so much work there.
Well, there is, but and it's simply because
More than at least Atlanta.
well,
Yeah.
Atlanta they've hit on some prospects. It's just that quarterback position, which is always a huge deal. But they have that prospect they think in Atlanta. That's the difference between the other two teams. Like Bryce, still we've seen a little bit, but I mean they're obviously going to play him next year, right? He's going into this going QB1, so hopefully faith has been restored in him and he can move forward with that. The Saints are looking to dish Derek Carr, probably even cut him. And then Spencer Rattler is not the dude. Like, and
Reports
then
were
who was
that-
the other one? Jake
well-
Hayner was the third guy, I believe.
Yeah, and I
What,
mean,
what were the reports about Carr?
the reports about Carr was that the owner gave him the endorsement of being the starter going forward. But again, that's
Yeah, whatever. Okay.
it's one of those endorsements where you just that's the thing that
What
they
else
say.
are you gonna endorse?
Yeah,
Where are you going?
exactly.
What else are you doing? Like, I mean, that's an easy take when your back's against the wall.
Really, this is the year for Kellen Moore to kind of
Got to change the culture.
He's gotta see how he's got to get his vision for this team
Agreed.
and push it forward. You're going to get this year to kind of see what pieces you're going to hang on to and what pieces you're going to move off of because of the cap that has to be done. And then depends on, how he sees it of what you go forward with. Most likely you're going to have a new quarterback. You figure this is probably Carr's last season there if they don't move off him this offseason.
I mean, the only thing is, the only way you don't is if you look at the rest of that room and you're like, dude, we can't. Like, what else? We're not going to draft one. We're not going to make a trade for one. We don't have the money to go and sign one. Like,
Exactly.
he might just get it by default because that's the best they could potentially do. Or they just cut him and cut their losses in the overall and understand that they're going to suck regardless. And then they just trot out Hayner or Rattler or maybe another quarterback that
Draft
they
Dart or somebody.
yes, yeah, exactly. A what if kind of guy, right? But no, the Saints don't. Dude, if I was a New Orleans fan, it's bleak.
Honestly, taking a
Future is
swing
bleak.
at someone like Dart might be the best option because if it hits, then you're ahead of schedule.
You have
If you
control
miss,
of the
then you
quarterback, right.
don't really.
Then you're in the same spot anyway.
Exactly.
Yeah, for sure. No, I think that New Orleans should probably look that way, but they need. You want to talk about drafting everywhere. They're old on defense. Their offensive line they've invested in but hasn't hit. Kamara's going to be another year old. Like their wide receivers are not necessarily anything other than Olave to write home about, but he's hurt all the time. So, I mean, that team needs help everywhere, dude. Everywhere. So there's the AFC and NFC South. Okay, so I want to propose this to you for fandom here,
All
real
right.
quick, as we close out this pod 87. I have two ideas, and I want you to choose. I want you to. We can either talk about your greatest draft day story as far as when the Niners pulled something that just made you go fuck yes, and it doesn't have to be a first rounder, it could be any fucking draft you want. Or I love the idea. I was thinking about this. If there was a rule in any major professional sport that you could change, which one would it be and why? Now, that one might require a little bit more thought.
Both of these actually, I think, require some thought
Okay.
because I feel like I have to dig in a little bit, research. I have thoughts, but I would want to research both of those a little bit. I feel like.
All right. Sorry for putting you on the spot there. Then, do you have any other idea for fandom you'd like to talk about? What you've been geeking on?
Well, actually, I was actually thinking. I mean, Heather brought this up this morning, so it just got me thinking.
What do we got?
Pronunciation, just
of what?
Well, I mean, for sports, there's a lot of people in sports that call Nevada,
right?
And there's just certain things like that that kind of can get under your skin because of the way that a culture pronounces a name that lives there, and then everybody else that like, oh well, this is how it's supposed to be pronounced.
Yeah, phonetically, this is how it's supposed to be said, or whatever,
right? Exactly. Like the Celtics technically should be the Celts if you're if that's how you want to play that. Okay. If you're gonna play the Nevada game, I can throw that back at you.
It's just the Sierra Nevadas. Yeah, okay.
Sure.
It's Nevada, bro. Don't hurt yourself. You know, like, fuck, man. I went down to Texas. That's a place that, like, they don't read any of their shit the way it's actually spelt. It's all different silent letters and this and that. And I was like, these people are fucking crazy, dude. That is not the sign I just read. However you said all of that, it has got to be wrong. And, like, obviously, I look like an idiot because I'm a West Coast baby out there.
You ain't from here.
Nah, yeah, you know what you're talking about. But no, it is funny how that does play into, I would say, words in general, sports for sure. Yeah, don't come to Nevada and call it Nevada. It's the quickest way to get booed out of here.
Yeah, you just outed yourself.
Yeah, big time. Like, that is the one that comes to mind around here. Washington, I hate it when people call it that. I don't know where that R comes from. My dad's like, we're back in Washington. It's like, no, Pops, that's Washington. There's no R in that fucking
How did we get here?
I don't know. Yeah, how did we get here? I don't know. How is Bill short for William? Where do these things come from?
America.
I don't want to know. Yeah, dude. We're as American as apple pie around here. All right, well, I think that was a pretty fucking good and succinct Pod 87. I know we'll ramble a little bit more when Downey comes back, so we hope that you travel safe, and we'll see you guys again for Pod 88, which that's a great number in sports, right?
Very much
There's
so.
got to be like a bunch of 88s we can reference, but make sure you're following us on Buzzsprout, Spotify, YouTube. It's going to be out everywhere for you, so come back.
And I may be dyslexically challenged, but you let us know if we're not pronouncing things right on X or Instagram.
Yeah, shout at us. We don't care if it's batting basement. Just let us
That
know
should be fun.
what you love and what you don't. You're like, Chuck, you're an idiot. You don't say anything right. I want to learn. I don't want to be an ass. That's why it's some of these fucking player names where like announcers get that shit right. Like hockey announcers, not a shot. I don't know how they do it. With how many names they have to know, different lines and different speeds of the game. Anyway, we're sidebarred on the exit. But come back for Pod 88 now. Cheers, Trevor.
Cheers. Oh, damn, you put it down. Let's go.
A one taker, bro.